I was on a plane last year, sitting next to a young man who couldn't have been more than 35 years old. He had that look, the one I'm talking about. That distant stare that says someone is trapped inside their own life, watching it slip by like sand through fingers they forgot to close. We started talking, and within minutes, he told me something that broke my heart. He said, "I feel like I'm living someone else's life. Every day I wake up, go through the motions, and go to bed wondering where the real me went." That conversation haunted me for weeks, because I realized something crucial. We're standing at the edge of a new year, and there are millions of people out there feeling exactly the same way. They're successful by every external measure, good job, nice home, decent income, but internally, they're dying. They've become strangers to their own potential. What I've discovered after working with thousands of people over the years, the difference between those who transform their lives and those who simply age is not talent, not luck, not even opportunity. It's something much simpler and simultaneously more challenging. It's their willingness to face themselves honestly and make the changes that matter before time makes the choice for them. I want you to answer honestly, even if only to yourself. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing today, exactly the way you're doing it, will you be proud of who you become by the end of next year? Will you look back and say, that was the year everything changed? Or will it be just another year that slipped away while you were planning to start living? The clock is ticking, not in some abstract, philosophical way, I mean literally, right now, this very second. And between this moment and the first day of 2026, you have a window of opportunity that will never come again. This window isn't about making New Year's resolutions that you'll abandon by February. It's about fundamental transformation in the core areas that determine whether you thrive or merely survive. There's a story I want to share with you about a woman named Margaret. She wasn't anyone famous, just a regular person working as a middle manager in a pharmaceutical company in Chicago. At 47 years old, she had what most people would consider a comfortable life. But comfort, as you may have discovered, is often the enemy of greatness. Margaret came to one of my seminars looking defeated. Her company was restructuring, younger employees were being promoted over her, and she felt invisible. She approached me during a break and said something I'll never forget. "I've spent 23 years becoming really good at being mediocre. 23 years of showing up, doing enough, staying safe, avoiding risks and waking up one day to realize that playing it safe is the riskiest strategy of all." But here's where the story gets interesting. Margaret made a decision that day. Not a wish, hope, but a decision. She decided that the next 12 months would be different. She didn't know how yet. She didn't have a detailed plan. But she made a commitment to herself that she would become unrecognizable to her current self within 1 year. Fast forward 18 months, and Margaret had been promoted twice, was leading a major division in her company, had started a side consulting business, and had lost 38 pounds. When I saw her again, she literally glowed with a different energy. I asked her what changed, and she said something profound. "I stopped improving my circumstances and started improving myself." Everything else followed. Not how to change your circumstances. That's backwards. We're going to focus on how to change you. Because when you change, when you genuinely transform from the inside out, your circumstances have no choice but to rearrange themselves to match your new level of being. Every single day, you have approximately 60,000 thoughts running through your head. Research shows that for most people, 80% of those thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive from the day before. Do you understand what this means? It means that most people are living in a mental prison they built themselves, and they're fortifying the walls every single day with the same destructive thinking patterns. Your mental discipline or lack of it is determining the entire trajectory of your life right now. Not your education, not your connections, not your current circumstances, your mind. And here's the uncomfortable truth that most people don't want to hear. If you don't control your mind, someone else will. The news will control it, social media will control it, your negative coworker will control it, your past failures will control it. I met a man in Singapore who had built a successful trading business. He was making more money in a month than most people make in a year. But he was miserable, absolutely miserable. He told me he couldn't sleep more than 3 hours a night because his mind was constantly racing with worst-case scenarios. He'd achieved financial success while remaining mentally bankrupt. He was winning the game but losing his life. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant grows. Whatever you water flourishes. Whatever you neglect dies. But here's the catch: if you plant nothing, weeds grow automatically. Negative thoughts, worries, anxieties, resentments, these are the weeds. They require no effort. They grow in the darkness of neglect. So, before you get into 2026, you must become the master gardener of your own mind. This means developing the discipline to choose your thoughts the same way you choose your clothes each morning. It means creating a mental diet that's as carefully planned as any physical diet you've ever attempted. Start by installing a new program in your mind. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone, before the world downloads its anxiety into your consciousness, spend 15 minutes programming your mind for success. I don't mean just thinking positive thoughts that's superficial. I mean visualizing in vivid detail the person you're becoming, seeing yourself handling challenges with grace, watching yourself achieve your goals with clarity and power. There was a study done at the University of Chicago where they divided basketball players into 3 groups. The first group practiced free throws physically for 1 hour every day. The second group did no practice at all. The third group spent 1 hour every day simply visualizing making perfect free throws, no physical practice, just mental rehearsal. After 30 days, the group that physically practiced improved their free throw percentage by 24%. The group that did nothing showed no improvement. But here's what shocked the researchers. The group that only visualized improved by 23%, nearly identical to the group that physically practiced. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. The neural pathways are the same. So when you spend time each day mentally rehearsing excellence, you're not just daydreaming, you're literally rewiring your brain for success. But most people never do this. They spend more time planning their vacation than programming their mind for success. You must also become ruthless about protecting your mind from contamination. This means being selective about what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, and this is the hard part: who you spend time with. Your mind is absorbing everything around it constantly. If you're spending your evenings watching news programs designed to trigger fear and anger, you're programming yourself for anxiety. If you're scrolling through social media seeing everyone's highlight reel while you're living your behind the scenes, you're programming yourself for inadequacy. Cut it out. I'm serious. You wouldn't drink poison just because it's available, so why would you poison your mind with toxic inputs? The people who transform their lives before 2026 understand that mental discipline isn't about willpower. It's about creating an environment where the right thoughts flourish automatically. Your physical energy. I'm not talking about fitness as vanity or six-pack abs for Instagram. I'm talking about energy as the fundamental currency of achievement. You cannot build an empire while you're exhausted. You cannot be creative when you're running on caffeine and processed food. You cannot show up as your best self when you feel like garbage. Here's a truth that successful people understand but rarely talk about: your physical state directly determines your mental and emotional state. When you're physically vital, strong, and energized, you make better decisions. You handle stress more effectively. You're more creative. You're more patient. You show up as a better parent, a better partner, a better leader. Everything improves when your physical energy improves. But look around. We live in a society of walking zombies. People are exhausted. They're 30 pounds overweight. They're on multiple medications. They sleep poorly. They're stressed constantly. And they wonder why life feels so hard. It's not that life is hard. They've made it hard by neglecting the vehicle they need to navigate through life. I remember working with an executive who was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, but he was destroying himself. He worked 12-hour days, survived on coffee and takeout, got maybe 5 hours of sleep on a good night, and hadn't exercised in years. He was making high-level decisions that affected thousands of employees while operating on the physical energy level of someone twice his age. I asked him a simple question: if you had a Ferrari, would you put cheap gas in it and never change the boat? Oil. He looked at me like I was crazy. Of course not, he said. That would destroy the engine. Your body is infinitely more sophisticated and valuable than any Ferrari ever built. So why are you treating it worse than you'd treat a car? This isn't about vanity. This is about having the energy to execute on your vision. This is about having the stamina to persist when things get difficult. This is about having the vitality to enjoy your success when you achieve it. Before you step into 2026, you need to make peace with your body and commit to treating it like the precious instrument it is. This doesn't require you to become a professional athlete or spend 3 hours a day in the gym. It requires consistency in simple fundamentals that virtually everyone knows but hardly anyone implements. Move your body every single day. I don't care if it's walking, swimming, yoga, lifting weights, dancing, just move. Your body was designed for motion. When you move, everything improves. Your mood elevates, your thinking becomes clearer, your energy increases, your sleep deepens, stress dissolves. It's not magic, it's biology. Fuel yourself with real food. Stop poisoning yourself with processed garbage, engineered in laboratories to override your natural satiation signals. Eat food that came from the ground or had a mother. It's that simple. You don't need a complicated diet plan or the latest nutritional trend. You need to stop eating things that come in packages with ingredients you can't pronounce. And sleep, this is where most people are destroying themselves. You cannot cheat, sleep, and win. You just can't. Your body repairs itself during sleep. Your brain consolidates memories and learning during sleep. Your hormones regulate during sleep. When you chronically shortchange your sleep, you're essentially trying to build a life on a foundation of exhaustion. It doesn't work. The most successful people I know treat their sleep like a sacred appointment. They protect it. They prioritize it. They understand that 8 hours of sleep makes the other 16 hours exponentially more productive. There's a CEO I know who runs a billion-dollar company. He's in bed by 9:30 every night, no exceptions. His executives used to joke about it until they realized something. He outperforms all of them. He makes better decisions. He stays calm under pressure. He's more creative. He's healthier at 60 than most people are at 40. His secret? He takes care of the fundamentals while everyone else is burning themselves out trying to squeeze productivity out of exhaustion. Most people stop learning the day they graduate from formal education. They might read an occasional book or watch a documentary, but they're not engaged in serious, deliberate skill acquisition. They're coasting on what they already know, and here's the brutal truth. In a rapidly changing world, coasting means falling behind. The person you are today, with the skills you currently possess, with the knowledge you currently have, is not equipped to achieve the life you want tomorrow. That's not an insult, it's just reality. You need to become someone different. You need to develop new capabilities. You need to acquire new knowledge. You need to master new skills. But here's where most people go wrong. They confuse information consumption with skill development. They listen to podcasts, read books, watch videos, and feel like they're growing. But they're not actually implementing anything. They're not practicing. They're not developing genuine competence. They're just accumulating information that sits in their head unused, like tools in a garage that never touch a project. There was a young woman I worked with who was stuck in an entry-level marketing position despite having worked for the same company for 5 years. She complained that she wasn't being recognized, that others were being promoted over her, that the system was unfair. When I asked her what new skills she had developed in the past year, she went silent. She couldn't name a single one. She was showing up, doing her job adequately, and expecting advancement to happen automatically. I gave her a challenge. Pick one skill that would make her indispensable in her field and become genuinely excellent at it within 6 months. Just one skill. She chose data analytics, something her company desperately needed but few employees truly understood. She enrolled in an online course. She practiced on real company data during her lunch breaks. She volunteered to create reports that nobody asked for. She made herself uncomfortable by deliberately working in an area where she initially felt incompetent. 6 months later, she was the go-to person in her department for data-driven decision-making. Within a year, she'd been promoted twice and had received a 40% salary increase. Nothing about her company changed. Nothing about the economy changed. She changed. She developed a valuable skill and became someone her organization couldn't afford to lose. What skill are you going to master before 2026 arrives? Not dabble in, not learn a little bit about master. Because mastery is what transforms your value in the marketplace. Mastery is what gives you options. Mastery is what allows you to write your own ticket in life. And here's what you need to understand about skill development. It requires sustained, deliberate practice in areas of discomfort. Real learning happens at the edge of your current capabilities. When you're practicing something you're already good at, you're not growing, you're maintaining. Growth happens when you attempt things that are currently beyond your reach and persist until they become part of your repertoire. This means you need to be willing to be bad at something temporarily to become good at it permanently. Most people can't handle this. Their ego won't allow them to be beginners. They'd rather stay competent at things that don't matter then become incompetent temporarily at things that would transform their future. Let me tell you about a skill that everyone needs but almost nobody develops: the ability to communicate with impact. I don't just mean being able to talk, I mean being able to organize your thoughts clearly, present your ideas persuasively, write compelling content, and influence people to take action. This skill alone can multiply your income by 5 or 10 times. But most people are terrible at it because they've never deliberately practiced it. Start writing every day, not social media posts, not text messages, actual structured writing where you develop and articulate ideas clearly. Start recording yourself speaking about topics you care about and watch it back. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, you'll cringe at how you sound. That's the point. You'll never improve what you don't evaluate. Join a speaking group. Take a course on persuasion. Study the structure of effective presentations. Make this a non-negotiable part of your development. Most people have a deeply dysfunctional relationship with money. They either worship it and sacrifice everything to accumulate it, or they pretend it doesn't matter and stay broke while calling it spirituality. Both approaches are disasters. Money is a tool. It's a store of value. It's a means of exchange. It's a scorecard of the value you deliver to others. It's not good or evil, it's neutral. But your relationship with it determines your options in life. When you're financially stressed, everything else becomes harder. Your relationships suffer. Your health suffers. Your ability to pursue your dreams suffers. Financial pressure is like trying to run a race while someone's standing on your chest. The uncomfortable truth is this: your current financial situation is a direct reflection of your current financial intelligence and habits, not your intentions, not your desires, not your dreams, your actual intelligence and habits around money. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're in debt, if you have no savings, if you don't know where your money goes each month, you have a knowledge problem and a discipline problem that must be solved before you can build any kind of meaningful wealth. I know this sounds harsh, but here's why it matters. Financial stress kills dreams. You can have the most beautiful vision for your life, but if you're constantly worried about making rent, if you're drowning in credit card debt, if you have no buffer between you and catastrophe, you'll never have the mental and emotional bandwidth to pursue anything beyond survival. Before 2026, you need to develop real financial intelligence. This means understanding how money actually works, not the mythology about money, but the mechanics. You need to understand the difference between assets and liabilities. You need to understand compound interest and how it works for you or against you. You need to understand tax strategy. You need to understand investment fundamentals. You need to understand how to create multiple streams of income. Most people work 40 years at a job, save a little bit in a retirement account, and hope it'll be enough. That's not a plan, that's a prayer, and it's a prayer that often goes unanswered. You need to be smarter. You need to be more intentional. You need to understand that building wealth is a skill that can be learned just like any other skill. Start by doing something most people never do: track every single dollar you spend for 30 days. Not approximately, exactly. Write it down, you'll be shocked. Most people are bleeding money in areas they don't even realize. They're spending hundreds of dollars a month on subscriptions they don't use, convenience they don't need, and impulses they can't justify. Awareness is the first step to change. Then create a system where you pay yourself first. Before you pay any bill, before you spend on anything else, move a percentage of your income into savings and investments. Start with 10% if you can, 5% if you must, but start. Most people have this backwards. They spend everything and save whatever's left over, which is usually nothing. Wealthy people save first and spend what remains. Increase your income. Yes, managing expenses matters, but there's a limit to how much you can cut. There's no limit to how much you can earn. The question is, what value can you deliver to the marketplace that people will pay for? How can you serve more people? How can you serve people better? How can you develop skills that command higher compensation? This requires shifting from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset, even if you work for someone else. You need to start thinking of yourself as a business. You Incorporated. What products and services does You Incorporated offer? What makes You Incorporated valuable? How is You Incorporated investing in research and development meaning to your own skill development? How is You Incorporated marketing itself? How is You Incorporated building relationships that create opportunities? When you start thinking this way, everything changes. You stop waiting for recognition and start creating value that demands recognition. You stop hoping for raises and start becoming so valuable that employers have to pay you more to keep you. You stop being passive about your income and start being strategic about increasing it. Let's move to something that determines the quality of your entire life experience, your relationships and the people you surround yourself with. There's a principle that operates with mathematical precision. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't motivational fluff, it's observable reality. Your income tends to average out to that of your closest friends. Your health habits mirror theirs. Your attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors converge with theirs. Look at your closest relationships right now and ask yourself honestly, are these people elevating me or holding me back? Are they challenging me to grow or enabling me to stay comfortable? Are they pursuing meaningful goals or are they comfortable with mediocrity? This isn't about judging people or thinking you're better than anyone else. This is about recognizing that you're in a fight for your future and you need teammates who are fighting alongside you, not anchors who are dragging you down. I once worked with a man who had enormous potential but kept failing to break through to the next level. Every time he started gaining momentum, something would pull him back. We did an exercise where he listed everyone he spent significant time with and honestly evaluated whether each relationship was making him stronger or weaker. The results devastated him. His 3 closest friends were all negative, cynical people who mocked anyone who tried to improve themselves. They called ambition selling out. They called discipline being uptight. They called success getting lucky. This man was surrounded by people who had given up on their own dreams and couldn't tolerate watching him pursue his. The moment he built the courage to distance himself from these relationships and intentionally cultivate new friendships with people who were growing, his entire trajectory changed. Within 2 years, he had built a business that gave him complete financial freedom. The same guy, the same talents, the same opportunities, but different relationships. Here's what you need to do before 2026. Audit your relationships ruthlessly. Make a list of everyone you spend significant time with. Next to each name, write whether this person makes you better or worse. Be honest. Then make some difficult decisions. You don't have to be cruel. You don't have to create drama. You just have to protect your future by limiting exposure to people who are toxic to your growth. And then, this is equally important, you need to intentionally seek out and cultivate relationships with people who are ahead of you, people who are where you want to be, people who can model success and mentor you. This is uncomfortable because you have to be the least knowledgeable person in the room. Your ego has to take a back seat. But this is where real growth happens. Join groups, attend events, reach out to people you admire, offer value before asking for anything. Most people never do this because rejection scares them. But here's the truth. The cost of rejection is temporary discomfort. The cost of staying in mediocre relationships is your entire future, your relationship with failure, and your ability to persist through difficulty. Every single person who has achieved anything significant has failed more times than people who achieved nothing have even tried. This is not an exaggeration. This is a defining characteristic of success, the willingness to fail repeatedly on the path to achievement. But our society has taught us that failure is bad, that mistakes are shameful, that struggling means you're not good enough. This is completely backwards. Failure is information. Mistakes are education. Struggle is growth. The people who win are not the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who fail faster, learn quicker, and adjust their approach until they find what works. There's a story I heard about a ceramics teacher who divided his class into 2 groups. He told the first group they would be graded on quantity they needed to produce as many pots as possible. He told the second group they would be graded on quality they needed to produce 1 perfect pot. At the end of the semester, something fascinating happened. The highest quality pots came from the quantity group. While the quality group spent all their time theorizing about perfection and produced very little, the quantity group was making pot after pot, learning from each mistake and rapidly improving through practice and iteration. That's how life works. You don't think your way to success. You act your way to success. You try, you fail, you learn, you adjust, you try again. You keep going until you figure it out. But most people quit at the first sign of difficulty. They try something once, it doesn't work perfectly, and they take that as evidence that they're not cut out for it. That's not evidence of anything except that you're a beginner, which everyone is at the start of anything worth doing. Before 2026, you need to develop what I call intelligent persistence. This isn't blind stubbornness where you keep doing the same thing expecting different results. This is the combination of commitment to your goal with flexibility in your approach. You stay absolutely committed to where you're going, but you remain completely flexible in how you get there. This means when something doesn't work, you don't quit, you pivot. You ask better questions. You seek better information. You adjust your strategy. You try a different approach. You become a scientist running experiments with your life, collecting data, and optimizing your methods. And you need to build what psychologists call frustration tolerance, the ability to stay in the game when things are uncomfortable. Most people have the frustration tolerance of a toddler. The moment things get difficult, the moment they feel uncomfortable, they quit. They retreat to what's familiar and comfortable, which is precisely why their lives never change. Success lives on the other side of discomfort. Everything you want, more income, better health, deeper relationships, greater impact, requires you to do things you're currently not comfortable doing. If you were comfortable doing them, you'd already have the results. The fact that you don't have what you want is evidence that you need to do things differently, which by definition means uncomfortably. So you have to make a decision. Do you want to be comfortable or do you want to grow? You can't have both. Not in the beginning anyway. Eventually, your new capabilities become comfortable, and that's when you know it's time to reach for the next level of discomfort. You can have all the money in the world, perfect health, great relationships, and impressive skills, but if you don't know why you're doing any of it, you'll feel empty. Purpose is the fuel that makes everything else worth the effort. It's what gets you out of bed when you don't feel like it. It's what keeps you going when obstacles appear. It's what makes the struggle meaningful instead of just painful. Most people never clarify their purpose. They drift through life reacting to circumstances, pursuing whatever seems appealing in the moment, and wondering why nothing feels truly satisfying. They're productive but not purposeful. They're busy but not fulfilled. They're accumulating achievements but not building meaning. Your purpose isn't something you find, it's something you choose. It's the answer to a simple but profound question. What do you want your life to stand for? When you're at the end of your days looking back, what would you need to have done? Who would you need to have become? What impact would you need to have made for you to feel like your life mattered? This isn't about grand, world-changing ambitions, unless that's genuinely what calls to you. Your purpose might be to raise children who make the world better. It might be to master a craft and pass it on to the next generation. It might be to serve your community. It might be to create beauty or solve problems or make people laugh. There's no right answer except the one that's true for you. When you connect what you do each day to a larger purpose, everything transforms. The same activities that felt like drudgery suddenly feel meaningful. The obstacles that seemed overwhelming suddenly seem manageable because you're not just working for a paycheck or to impress people, you're serving something larger than yourself. Before 2026 arrives, you need to get crystal clear on your purpose. Write it down, not in vague terms, but specifically. What are you building? Who are you serving? What legacy are you creating? When you have this clarity, decisions become easier. You know what to say yes to and what to say no to. You know where to invest your time and energy. You have a filter for evaluating opportunities, purpose. It gives you resilience. When you're connected to a meaningful why, you can tolerate almost any how. You can persist through setbacks that would stop people who are just chasing money or status. You can maintain hope when circumstances are dark because you're anchored to something deeper than circumstances. So here we are. 7 areas of your life that need your attention before the calendar flips to 2026. Your mind, your body, your skills, your money, your relationships, your persistence, and your purpose. These aren't separate compartments, they're interconnected systems. When you improve one, all the others benefit. When you neglect one, all the others suffer. The question is, what are you going to do with this information? Because information without implementation is just entertainment. You can nod along with everything I've said, feel inspired for a moment, and then go right back to your old patterns. That's what most people do. Or you can make a different choice. You can decide that right now, today, you're drawing a line in the sand. That the person you've been is not the person you're becoming. That the results you've gotten are not the results you're going to get. That the life you've lived is not the life you're going to live. This doesn't require you to have everything figured out. It doesn't require you to see the entire path. It just requires you to take the next step, and then the one after that, and then the one after that. Small, consistent actions in the right direction compound into extraordinary results over time. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine it's the last day of 2026. You're looking back over the year. What do you see? Do you see someone who transformed? Do you see someone who kept their promises to themselves? Do you see someone who faced their fears and did the work anyway? Do you see someone who became unrecognizable to who they were 12 months prior? Or do you see another year of good intentions that never became actions, of dreams that stayed dreams, of potential that remained potential? That future isn't determined by your circumstances. It's determined by your decisions. And the most important decision is the one you make right now. Are you in or are you out? Are you going to do whatever it takes to transform these 7 areas of your life, or are you going to stay comfortable and hope things somehow improve on their own? You already know the answer? Deep down, beneath all the excuses and fears and rationalizations, whether you're ready to change or not. Whether you have the courage to become who you're capable of being. Whether you're willing to pay the price of discipline or whether you'd rather pay the price of regret, time is going to pass either way. 2026 is coming whether you're ready or not. The only question is, who will you be when it arrives? Will you be someone who decided to rise or someone who chose to stay small? Because, let me tell you something, you have greatness inside you. You have capabilities you haven't tapped yet. You have a contribution to make that only you can make. But all of that potential means nothing if you don't activate it. So make the decision, make it now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect now. Decide that you're going to master your mind. Decide that you're going to honor your body. Decide that you're going to develop valuable skills. Decide that you're going to build financial intelligence. Decide that you're going to cultivate powerful relationships. Decide that you're going to persist through every obstacle. Decide that you're going to live with purpose. And then wake up tomorrow and start doing the work. It won't be easy. Nobody promised easy. But it will be worth it. Because at the end of next year, when you look in the mirror, you'll see someone different. You'll see someone stronger, more capable, more confident, more purposeful. You'll see someone who kept their word to themselves. You'll see someone who earned their own respect. And that, my friend, is worth more than all the money and status and comfort in the world. The transformation starts now. Not when you're ready, not when you feel like it, not when circumstances align. Now. This moment is the beginning of your new story. Don't waste it. Don't let another day slip by where you tolerate less from yourself than you're capable of. You've got work to do. Get started.